obviously, inevitably, children being out of formal education is going to be harmful to their education, to their health, to their well-being. And that should have been, keeping children in school should have been prioritised. And unfortunately, it wasn't by this government. And their repeated policy failures led to the virus going out of control, led to us having to close schools twice in this country. And in other countries that managed to keep schools open and keep the virus rates very low. So if you look at countries like Taiwan, South Korea, they've done both. So this is a result of the government not prioritising children and not prioritising keeping this virus under control. But the second thing, I completely agree with what Mary said, that it's not about, having a fixed, we need to be thinking about how we can open schools safely. And again, the government have ignored the advice of SAGE, also ignored the advice of independent SAGE, and just don't seem to be following common sense that quite obviously having a phased and controlled opening of schools makes more sense. I don't know why we're not doing things like having school kids go in maybe on alternate days. I think having 15 kids in a classroom rather than 30 obviously will reduce rates of spread. And then there's other things that the government should be doing. So they should be ensuring that schools have adequate ventilation. Are they ensuring that children can be taught outside? Have they given schools marquees? Have they given schools, adequate funding that they can put extra heating in to keep the windows open? So all these really common sense things that we know we can do to stop the virus transmitting. And again, this government is failing and not doing the basics to help protect children and their families and also the staff in the school. And then the third thing that I want to say is that, I've heard a lot of people talk about, children's mental health and that being harmed. And yes, it definitely is being harmed, children not being able to socialise and being in school. But I just find it, some of the people talking about this, some Tory politicians talking about this, it sort of makes my blood boil a little bit, because actually we know children's mental health has been suffering for many years. Children's mental health services has been slashed of funding. We know that many children are having to, with serious mental health problems pre-pandemic, we're having to wait 6 months sometimes just to see a psychiatrist. I used to work in mental health services in North London. And in our mental health services, we had children from London who were being put into mental health hospitals in as far away as Yorkshire because there was no mental health beds. Many schools don't have access to counselling support. So again, here, it's just, I think, the Tories having words but not action. And if they really cared about the mental health of their children, there is things that they could have done and they could be doing, and again, failing to do. And then just the last thing about, I think the most awful thing that, again, we've seen this pandemic is how it affects those who are from the most deprived backgrounds and from poor communities in every way. And we've seen that again with education. And I know, and I see this because I work in quite a poor area of London. And, children, you have a very different situation if you are, a single mum or you are having to work all day. It's very difficult. And as Mary said, you don't have internet access. We know that the impact of closing schools is going to be much greater on children from poor backgrounds. We knew this. Again, it was obvious, but what has the government done about it? Why do we not have laptops for everyone? Why have they not secured internet access for everyone? So I just think this government, it's 1 year on and we're having these same conversations, which I find really frustrating. I completely agree with Mary and the work that NEU has done in actually raising, speaking up for teachers and for the children. And I think it's sad actually that both political parties seem to have been ignoring the trade union here. And it's sad for children who's going to face a long-term impact of that.